And we're back with another episode.
It's fight week.
Fight week.
How are you feeling?
I don't really feel like it's fight week. I don't know. Obviously, like right now it's like Monday night. I leave tomorrow morning to go to Vegas. When you get there, then it feels like fight week. But like today, my training schedule was exactly the same as I normally do. Even last night.
Right. Yeah. You train all the way straight through.
Yeah.
It's funny because the last few days, last like 3 or 4 days, I've had like so much shoulder pain.
Mm-hmm.
My shoulder's like killing me. Like it's to the point where I have a hard time doing anything. Like I just sit in pain and I'm almost like sweating because of how bad it hurts.
Yeah.
But I feel so bad like complaining about something because, you know, you have this enormous weight cut in front of you, so much pressure, not necessarily pressure, but so much on the line every time you fight. And I'm like, fuck, but my shoulder hurts so bad. So I try to like keep that to myself. But,
Really?
I mean, yeah, kind of. But it's just funny because you never know like how someone's actually feeling. Like sometimes I'm like, wait, am I being a complete pussy or would someone else be in the hospital?
Right.
There's no way to gauge it. Like it's pain is like a funny thing. Like just like colors. I don't know what blue looks like to you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. It's a weird thing too. I mean, just compared with people that don't train or have never been like high level athletes, you know, I hear like I have friends that like are very, very obvious working out. I mean, very, very minimum. Like, oh, I just want to like be kind of fit. And they'll be like, oh, my like knee hurts so bad. And I'm like, what?
But I wonder what that feels like.
Like, how bad can it hurt? You didn't tear anything.
Right.
Like, how bad can it really hurt? And to me, like, sometimes people are like, well, you never have injuries. And I'm like, no, nothing like serious, but like, I'm always like in pain. I just think like that's
right.
I'm just so used to it. Like I remember when it was like a year I hurt my neck in training. Like this is now maybe like 2 years ago. I think it was like right before I fought for the title, and my neck was hurting really bad. And UFC sent me to get it looked at, and they were like, yeah, you have a pinched nerve and two, what's it called? Herniated discs. And I was like, oh my God, I've heard, I'm like, this is a serious injury. And then they're like, but if you look at anyone that trains at your level, if you look at a MRI of their spine or neck, they have a couple herniated. I was like, oh, okay. Like my neck definitely hurt bad. I was like getting stinger, like would just get like a light jab in sparring and like my whole right arm would go numb. And I was like, it's fine. I need like 40 seconds to shake it off, and I just kind of don't really want that to happen in the fight. So they gave me like
well, I feel like your neck hasn't been an issue lately though.
No, I mean it always hurts, but it's not as bad as that. I'm not getting like the stingers, but like you hear people all the time, they're like, I have herniated disc, and it's like chronic, like they can't work.
Well, yeah, they got on disability.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, I have two. I didn't even know.
Right.
But, you know what I'm saying?
And they're like a secretary with a herniated disc, and they're on like the rest of their life they go on disability.
Exactly.
Full retirement.
It's insane. But some people, you know, I don't think I have like a high pain tolerance, but like you just kind of, I think if you're work out and you're just sore all the time, I'm just constantly sore.
Right. I don't know if I have a high pain tolerance either, or if I have a low pain tolerance. I feel like I'm constantly injured and in pain. But I saw like, you know, you ever see those memes and it'll be someone at the doctor's office and they'll say, the doctor says, how much pain are you experiencing?
1 to 10.
And it says the normal amount. And the doctor says the normal amount is 0. Right. If that's the case, then they're like, I'm super fucked up. But I gauge things now, like, not whether or not I'm injured or not injured, whether or not I'm able to train. Like,
right.
I could usually train through things, but like lately I could not train. There's no way I could do jujitsu right now. My shoulder's like, you know, I feel like almost handicapped.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think I do that. Like, can you train or not? That's how you know.
Can you train or not?
Yeah. I'll be like, you know, my neck hurts, but I don't stop one single thing I do in training. So it's like, it's not bad.
Right. Yeah. So luckily you don't have any issues, really.
If one of us has to have the injury, I'm sorry, but I'm glad it's you this week.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
definitely.
But yeah, it still sucks.
But yeah, it's interesting because you trained it. I always think that like today you trained 3 times. Today's Monday right now, a fight week. And I think most people don't do that. Most people really taper back. But I think with you try to keep it the same all the way through. And you just keep training. And then the day before you don't really train and then you fight.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trained like all through fight. Like, I don't ever understand. Sometimes people are like a week and a half out and they're like, this is my last sparring session. I'm like, well, you still have like, almost like a week before you even leave to go to Vegas. I'm like, and they're like, well, yeah, I don't want to get hurt. I'm like, well, you could get hurt anytime in training.
Right.
So I don't really understand that. I always think I'm like, man, I don't want this to be my last. That's so far away. The fight always seems so far away. I like to go as close up as possible. I've done sometimes like in fight week where I'm like kind of spar during fight, not as intense, but spar during fight week just to keep the timing up because that's what I do all the time. So to just stop for like 7 days before seems like insane to me. Plus, too, mentally, I would just go crazy.
Yeah,
like, what am I supposed to do all day? Like, I'm fighting in 5 days and I'm supposed to like just sit at home. Like, no.
It's interesting because you always seem like you're so confident going into your fights. And I always wonder if that's because of how often you work out. Is that where your confidence comes from? Your training? Or is it just, you're just confident?
I think I'm just confident. I mean, I don't know. I mean, to me, it sounds, it's hard to say. If I say this, some people take it the wrong way and they think that like I don't care. But like, I know I've done everything possible to prepare and I have no doubts. So, if I go out there and get knocked out in 1 second, like whatever, I mean, that's what's going to happen. And like life goes on after, it's, I can say that, like I said, people take it the wrong. I used to not want to say that. I felt like you have to say like, I'm prepared to do anything, but like there's some things you just can't control. I mean, what I can control is preparing for the fight. And I've done that to the best of my ability. And I have no regrets in that. I think some people, maybe if you slack off a little bit in training or aren't as disciplined, even if you can convince yourself that you did everything, but in the back of your head, you're like, oh, what if I get tired? Like if I get tired, they're tired. Like it's not going to happen because I did whatever I could. So I think I'm just confident in my preparation for the fight. And also I think another part is like, I love fighting more than anyone. It's like all I do, all I think about, like since I was, started karate at 4 years old. So, but there's so much more to life than just being like a UFC fighter. Like, I'm like, who cares? That's like one little part of my life, even though it's, takes up the most time right now. But in the grand scheme of things, like this is just a small moment of my life. Like, whether I go out and I get a 1 second knockout or I get knocked out in 1 second, the next day, besides being a little bummed out, like the next day I'm coming home and we're doing the same thing we did like last Sunday and the Sunday before. And I think that's what being happy with in your life makes you, appreciate the process and just realize like it is a big deal and I take it very seriously, but it's not that big of a deal. We're doing a sport.
Right.
I know that's not like what people probably always want to hear. They want to hear that like I live, breathe this. This is everything I think about all day. And it is, but it's also not that serious. No one's going to remember the fight like, the next day or the next fight.
Yeah. Because if you're miserable, without the belt, you'll probably be miserable with the belt.
Of course.
Like your happiness and how you think of yourself doesn't like rest on, the championship or not. But one thing I wanted to say is because you're so confident and you work out so much, like I wonder if that confidence comes from working out or like how about people who have like a great degree of confidence, but they don't really train? I always think that that's an insane thing.
I think it's a mental disorder.
Yeah, but there are people like that. They really don't train hard. They just kind of like make weight. They do like a random routine and they show up to the fight confident that they're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Is that like they're just naive or some special level of confidence?
I mean, for me, the only way I can explain it because I don't understand it is that they're naive. I think they're like maybe a little dumb. I think some people convince themselves that they're doing like I see some people train and I'm like, you're going to go into a fight. Like I would
But
never
high level people. I've seen high level people train like that.
I mean, you could argue like, someone like John Jones is like that, but that's a little bit different because he is so good that he maybe doesn't have to train as much as other people and he just smokes everyone. So it's fine. But the type of person that's like, been in the UFC for a while, but is like, not beating everyone. They're not winning all of their fights or winning a lot, and having a lot of success. But those type of people that don't really train that hard. I mean, you see it all the time. I remember when I first started fighting, I would think anyone that was a professional was like, oh my God, they're training way more. I was an amateur training and I would see, especially being in New Jersey and New York, you see so many pro fighters, UFC fighters. And that was the biggest shock to me as I gain more experiences, like how little so many people train at a high level.
Yeah, that's always interesting to me too, because I think maybe I had issues with confidence then, because if I didn't train, I would have no thought in my brain would be like, oh, you could win this match. Like I put everything based on your training.
Me too.
But I think that there's some people who have like just a confidence that's like unshakable.
Yeah.
Whether they train or not. And I think that could be good too.
There's people that train crazy, all the time and they spar really well. And then when they get in there, they don't do good.
Freeze,
I mean, you see that all the time, every sport, not just fighting. So it is. And I think I've always said it before when it comes to like the mental aspect of fighting, I think there's only so much you can change. People, we've talked about it before, people love sports psychologists and, they'll go through like a 3-fight skid and they think, oh, I need a sports psychologist. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. But I think for me, I think that's silly. I think you either have it or you don't. It's up to you if you want to like learn about yourself and how you think about things. And maybe then you can change, but you have to really want to do that.
Right. I'm just a big believer in confidence through training.
Yes.
You do the work, it's not only going to raise your physical abilities, but also your mind is going to get sharper and more confident because you did the work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's like something that you do really well. I feel like you could take a fight with no camp and just show up and know you're going to win. But that compounded with the fact that you train so much is why I think,
well, I could do it without the camp because I do train all the time.
Right.
No, a little bit different. Even when I don't have a fight, it's not as intense, but I'm still, sometimes what I do when I don't have a fight is like more than other people's fight camps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I know when I wrestled at Elite in Jersey at Steve Rivera's gym, that's like his big quote. I think on the wall they have it says "Believe in your preparation."
Right, believe in your training. I've always said that.
I love that, and that's kind of like it's so simple, but that's like kind of what I think. Like at the end of the day, like if you can go to train, even if it's just jujitsu, you can go and you can show up, or you can show up and like push yourself, and no one else really even notices the difference but you do.
Right. There's absolutely nothing that you could possibly do better in your preparation.
Yeah.
That I think more so than anyone I've ever been around.
Yeah.
There's not one day that you're like, oh, I, needed to rest or miss this session or I need a mental health day.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
do none of that.
No.
As perfect training, following a plan as you could possibly do it.
Mm-hmm. I think I like pride myself in doing well, like, organizing my training really good, knowing what I need to work on, knowing what I, not just what I want to, I could, like I said, I could go out there and like get beat up and do it, but that's not because of the preparation. It could just be because of the night or there, you know what I mean? I know so I think that's why I go in confident is I'm like, well, whatever happens, it's out of my control.
Another thing I think is really good that you do is the fact that you're not at like a one-stop shop gym.
Mm-hmm.
You get to seek out so many different like great people, and you work with like a lot of different really high quality people, like especially over the years with John and Mark Henry and now Ryan and Gregor. It seems like you're always finding Keith Trimble. There's so many good people that you've just like brought in.
Yeah.
And because you're not at a one-stop shop where everything goes through this
I mean, how could
gym,
one person know everything?
right? You really, to like an extreme degree, find the best possible people you can and, build your camp or team around them.
Yeah, I always say like I'm a gym gypsy.
Right.
I just
Well, you're loyal though. I mean, you've been with Mark Henry for so long.
yeah,
but
absolutely.
You bring in so many other people
Mm-hmm.
to, maximize your training. And I think that's a great thing because, like you said, if you're at just one gym, maybe you don't love that style of jujitsu that is, at that gym, or that, that wrestling coach at that gym. You find this wrestling coach and this jujitsu person and this,
I'm always open to like anyone, like even if I always listen to whatever anyone tells me, because they might tell me one little they're not going to tell me something that's going to change my whole game plan, but they might help me with one little thing that I can use to add to my game plan. And just kind of, I feel like to me it's just common sense. Like, why wouldn't you ask as many people possible, like for their little thing, their opinions or their help on specific situations, and then you put it all together and it just makes you better.
Right. And this can't be like working with, well, I guess you have for a while now, but having Jason Rao, I think that's a great like add-on.
Yeah.
Because we were so accustomed to training at like the very best jujitsu in the world with John for all those years at Henzo's. But then when they left, you thought,
what am I going to do?
How am I going to replace this? This
Yeah.
is like irreplaceable. It's the best training in the world. But then with Jason Rao, it is the exact same.
Yeah.
I feel like your jiu-jitsu training is like as good or better now under Jason than it ever was.
I think I was definitely worried when John Danner left Henzo's and we stopped going there, because I was like one, I mean, John's training was amazing. And then also just the room of having that many people that are super into it, not just like hobbyists, but
Right.
even at Henzo's, the hobbyists are really good.
Really good.
But I was worried that I was like not going to get training partners either. And then when I went to Sarah's for Jason's class, I was like, oh, wow, I know so many people here. There's a lot of people that I train with at Henzo's, and it's a little bit of a smaller group. So, I get the opportunity to get time to train with some of the higher level guys that if we were at Henzo's and they were taking the train going all the way to the city and there's that many competitors training, I might not get rounds with them or get time to ask them a question. Right. Like I would see Jason at Henzo's. I never like asked him or anyone else questions because there was just so many people there. Now after, we always joke around at the end of class. It's always like, Jason, wait, can I just ask you a quick question? And we'll do that. Everyone does that to him every day after class. And I mean, just having that attention with like a little bit of a smaller group is super helpful. And just everyone else, not just Jason, even, like I go roll with Fabian a lot and he's shown me a couple things. I remember he showed me like the first time I trained with him, he showed me one little thing to hold, like to help hold a better half guard on top. And I told him the other day, I was like, I use this all the time. This is like my main thing I do. This is how I hold half guard now. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, like just one little thing that he showed me is like totally changed the game for me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I think just, like the energy there is just really good. Everyone's like super helpful, wants everyone to get better, and I think that's just cool.
Yeah, this is definitely, I think, an amazing training camp for you. I think everything went great, and I think you're going to kill it on Saturday night.
I think so.
But what else went on this week? There's like no fights.
This will be 1 month of no UFC fights.
Yeah, no real UFC fights. There's some like UFC stories in the news, upcoming fights, but it sucks that we can't like recap anything.
I know. Well, we'll start it next week. Then we'll have 2 back to back.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I saw in the news there was a story. Misha Tate was getting some heat, and I guess in an interview, someone asked her if she would ever start an OnlyFans, and she replied, she's like, "No, because I'm not desperate." And a lot of people are giving her some hate on that because, implying that people who have an OnlyFans are desperate.
Right.
And I could kind of see that both ways. Like, I understand that why she would get heat for that. But then also it's kind of like a good flex for her too. Like, well, I don't have to do that. I'm doing really well, Right. And she is. And she's had an amazing career and built up a big following on Instagram. But I definitely wouldn't accuse someone, even if like she's doing really well, even if she was super successful. If you have 2 million Instagram followers, if you want to start an OnlyFans, why not make extra money?
Yeah.
Like that would be like calling someone who, let's say someone had like a really good job. They made all kinds of good money, but then they also picked up a, second job at night or some other
Yeah.
job.
Or like did personal training on the side.
Right. Because now they're just ambitious. They're not desperate for having to work. I think it's kind of not fair to say you'd have to be desperate to do that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, also too, I think some girls that do it because it like makes them feel good, maybe makes them feel, but like, I mean, you look at someone like Paige Van Zandt, I'm sure she makes a lot of money before that, but she makes a lot of money doing it.
Right.
And she doesn't post any like anything super nude. Like
Right.
she was like, sexy photo shoots and like lingerie.
That same stuff that people post for free on Instagram.
Yeah, that's the same thing people post there. And a lot of it is, people pay to have like personal contact with the person. I don't think it's that. I mean, I don't know. I think some people are just like, especially girls, they're so judgmental on it.
So judgmental.
Girls are just like haters, or not, even if they're not haters, they're like, I would never do that. I'm like, well, okay, who cares?
But would you never do that if all of a sudden you woke up and you had 1 million Instagram followers and everyone
you were
was
like
super into
hot.
you, and you know that if you charge, $10 a month and you got 1,000 people to sign up, which is, very reasonable if you have 1 million followers, you can't use an extra 10 grand a month.
Yeah.
Of course.
To post like a bikini picture,
Yeah. So I don't like that. I mean, I like that she feels that she's, doesn't need to do that, but
to automatic,
I don't think it means you're desperate if you,
I don't think so.
Sometimes you could be desperate, but people who are desperate and do it, it's probably not even financially worth it.
Yeah, no,
if you're already desperate and you have 300 Instagram followers and you have 2 subscribers, you're making $20 a month.
That
is desperate.
Right.
But if you're already successful, it's just like a cherry on top of the sundae, right? Extra money.
It's
like a boat payment.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to me though, because like, I think it's like, it's so normal to me because it seems like every female fighter and jujitsu girl like has an OnlyFans.
Yeah,
it seems like so many do, where like people ask me like, oh, when are you going to do an OnlyFans? Like they almost like assume, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's weird. It's like, it's almost like OnlyFans is the new tattoos. When you first got it, it was like so bad. Oh my God. What about when you're older? Blah, blah, blah. Now it's like almost kind of like crazy if you don't have one. But I think I'm a little skewed just because I'm around fighting, and that's what, like, you know what I mean? Like my friends that don't fight, like they don't know anyone that has an OnlyFans, and I'm like, oh, it's crazy.
But they don't know anyone with a following either.
Yeah.
Like having the audience from fighting, now you could just, parlay that into an OnlyFans and make good money, even if a small percentage of the following started,
people have like tried to convince me about doing OnlyFans. Like, oh, you don't even have to do like, it doesn't have to be sexy picture. You could be like, oh, I put up like my workouts on there. So if you want to see, basically,
I think there is a lot of that on Instagram. People always assume it's just like porn stuff.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of like content, like
different types of
thing.
Yeah. But for me, I'm like, if I were to do something like that, I think I would do like a Patreon or like
just because it sounds
or
better.
Twitch, just because I'm like, people just, unless I'm going to be posting like sexy pictures on there, like if I'm not going to do that, then if I have an OnlyFans, everyone assumes. But then if you have the OnlyFans and you don't say, I'm like not going to post that type of stuff, I'm just going to put other type of like exclusive content, then you get like, you kind of, can get like money out of some people that might hope that you have that. So it's kind of like a business move to maybe trick people into thinking that they're going to get that.
I like people that go after multiple sources of income.
Yeah.
Whether it's OnlyFans or something else. It's nothing desperate about that.
No, I just like, I'm not really like posting many like sexy pictures, I just like, can't really do it. Like makeup, I wouldn't know what to wear. And like, you gotta do like photo shoots. Like,
you could just do your feet.
Yeah, that's what like a couple people have suggested. They're like, just do your feet.
Right.
But even that, it's like, dude, I just don't have time, you know?
Yeah. Well, if you don't want to, that's
Yeah.
different. But
Yeah.
and then the other thing that was in the news a lot, I saw Jake Paul and Dana White continue to beef quite a bit. Did you see Jake Paul's video he made for him?
Not the
today?
recent. I mean, I followed most of it up until I don't think I've seen the most recent one.
So Jake Paul, he did it was a really funny, it was really obviously really well done video. He's in St. Bart's and he's like on the beach and he was at a yacht party with like Drake and Mike Tyson and
my
Meek
God.
Mills, and he shows pictures of all of them.
Legendary.
Yeah, and he's had a drink, he's smoking a nice cigar.
I like Jake Paul more and more every time I see him.
Yeah, and he keeps, and it's cut with Dana White, and he trimmed it out where Dana White just says, "I do cocaine."
Oh, yes.
But he trimmed out the part before that said, "He's accusing me that I do cocaine."
Right.
But he just, and it keeps popping up, Dana White, "I do cocaine. I do cocaine. I do cocaine." And it's just really well made. And he's like so like eloquently speaking. He never stumbles over words or anything. He's just like really, just crushing Dana White in this.
Yeah.
But I'm a Jake Paul fan. I like everything he's doing, but I also like Dana White too. But he keeps saying how he accepted Dana White's things. Like, you could drug test me anytime you want. You could test me for steroids. Any allegation you want, I'm ready to defend myself. But you still haven't raised fighter pay. He's obsessed with Dana White raising the minimum from $12,000 to $50,000. And I just don't get that. I don't know how that's an issue, because an entry-level fighter, if you're 5-0 on the regional scene and then you did really well, now you sign with the UFC, you don't deserve more than $12,000. I think $12,000 is very generous for someone with no following coming from the regional scene. Like, if your first fight is in the UFC and you're the former Bellator champion, like Michael Chandler, he's not getting $12,000. He's getting, hundreds of thousands of dollars because he had brought something to the party.
Yeah.
He brought a giant following,
Fans.
Big name recognition. If you're like a debuter, I don't think you deserve more than $12,000.
And it is 12 and 12.
12 and 12, whatever.
You know what I mean? But people don't understand. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I always think like, all right, on the regional scene, you could be, and especially now, I think that people get in the UFC a little bit sooner or with less experience than maybe like 5 years ago. You could be like you said, 5-0. You're making 5-0. You're making like on the regional scene, you're making like $500 or just ticket sales. Right. Now you win your first fight in the UFC, you're making $24,000. That's a pretty big jump in pay raise, and you're not just fighting. If you fight more often, I mean, like if you go 3-0 and fight 3 times in a year, you're making like $75,000 a year.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And you probably don't have a big following. But how I look at it in terms of like structuring fighters' pay, I think that the first contract that starts at 12 and 12, 14, 14, 16, 16, I think that that's fine as it is. But I think the second and third contracts, after you've proven yourself, like if you go 4-0 on your first contract, I think the UFC should have a good idea of how you're going to do if you've won your first 4 fights. Right. If you go 4-0, then I think the bump should be then start getting paid a lot of money, then get the 50,000.
Yeah.
I would have no issue with that, or more, 70,000 minimum if you're 4-0 in the UFC. But the first contract, until you prove yourself and establish like name recognition or a fan base, it's about what you bring to the company, and you don't bring anyone. They're taking an incredible risk by giving you that contract. And if you pan out and you do well, then the risk was worth it, because in your theory, you'll bring an audience. But to just give $50,000 to anyone who goes on the roster is ridiculous. I don't understand how people could agree
I always
with that.
thought before, I was always like, I mean, I think fighter pay is really good. I mean, for what you're doing and like how many, and like you said, you're following, no one knows who you are. You're going in and doing a fight and you're making this much money. And if you do well, you move your way up, you get more fights, you get new contracts. You have to like earn the spot just because you're like in the UFC, and other people always compare it to, like, I don't know the exact numbers, but they say like the percentage of the money that UFC makes that they give, or the percentage of the money that the UFC gives out to their athletes is way less than other sports. So when I first heard that, I was like, okay, now I kind of get that argument, but also like, I don't know, like, obviously me, I'm a fighter. Do I want more money? Absolutely. Do I think, I'm like, oh, that sucks. Like, but I also picked this sport, and you can fight. I could fight anywhere else. You know, I don't have to fight for the UFC. I could fight for other organizations if I thought I was going to get paid way more.
When they mention that percentage of the revenue sharing, I feel that all the fighters should get a big pay raise, except the fighters on their first contract.
Right.
That can never go up. The first contract, they have to prove themselves, because a lot of people get to the UFC and go 0-2, and then, you know, you never hear from them again. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Or 2-1, and then they get cut because they had 2 boring decisions and they got a bad knockout. So the first contract is just a trial phase. But I think the second and third contracts, I think, you know, if you're having success and building your name, you know, fighting high quality people, then those fighters should get a big pay raise.
Right. Because,
but not the entry level.
Yeah. Because other sports, like, okay, say NFL, for example, you have to prove through college, and then they have like the combine, which have specific numbers and requirements that you have to meet in order to get even considered. But for MMA, there's no really like bar requirement, because it all just depends on how you perform on that day. So I think it should be viewed a little bit differently. Like you said, that first trial run, like, just because like you did good in 4 fights and you're on there doesn't mean, oh, you automatically you gotta have to prove it. And the only way to do that in MMA really is through experience. Like I said, it's not like you have the combine or college where it's like years of like talent, proving your talent, you know?
Because the people who are debut people, they're not in the same UFC as you are. You can't fight a debut person.
No.
So
I would love to.
Yeah. They're at such a much lower level. There's so many steps in the UFC. So the first contract remains the same. Everyone else then you could start pressing Dana about pay raises.
But that's something most like common fans, they don't understand, like the levels of in the UFC. They just think, oh, UFC. Sometimes I think people are like top 10 and then that's it. There's so many levels before you even get to top 10, especially like the guys divisions that have so many people. There's so many fighters. There's like someone that's in their first contract, like a guy at 155 that's in his first contract is not even kind of close to the top from number 20 to 10.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
20 to 10 they're all amazing. Yeah.
I think most people don't really realize that, and they just kind of group it all together.
Agreed.
And then the people at the entry level people, they're fighting each other. So their fights might look competitive and stuff, but it's like both of those people aren't necessarily at the level of the higher people, which sometimes there are. Like someone like Chimaev is moved up.
Right. But he's had 4 fights.
Yeah.
Now there's a perfect example. He should be getting paid a lot of money.
Yes. He
proved himself. He blew up so big.
He has fans.
Yeah, he should now be getting paid big money.
Yes, I agree.
As big as it could be.
Yeah.
But the debuter, no. I keep saying that, but it's just something that's always bothered me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then what else? Zane, you had some do we have any grappling news? Local or otherwise?
I have been having so much anxiety in this corner, just trying to get all the facts right before I present them.
It's okay. Everyone knows they don't need to like totally.
Yeah. Well, the facts don't really. Facts don't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I just wanted to share before we get into the grappling news. Strikeforce, when it was running, gave 63% of its revenue to all its fighters, and Bellator did 44.7 back in like 2020, I think.
Oh, do we know what UFC is?
Last time it was reported, was in 2019. It was below 20%.
Yeah, I thought it was like around something low, super.
Yeah,
low.
That shouldn't be, but there is tremendous value in. I mean, I'm sure that the UFC's production costs a lot more than Bellator's. I mean, I would think.
Yes, of course.
There's a lot more expense, but Yeah, at the high levels, the profit sharing should be significantly more money. You should be getting paid a lot more money. You're on your 4th contract. You should be
Yeah.
getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
Not the debuters. That's my only argument.
Well, don't boxers get paid more because of like a federal law, the Ali Act?
Um,
I don't know.
I don't really know how that works, but I know that most boxers don't get paid anything. Like 99% of boxers don't get paid anything.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they make very, very little, except you're thinking of Floyd Mayweather and Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
Yeah, but besides
whoever the
that,
first fight on a Tyson Fury card is
it's probably getting
not
like
getting
it's
paid
probably
very
getting
much.
like
Probably not.
$1,000,
Yeah.
less than UFC fighters.
Yeah, people always say, "Oh, boxers get paid so much." And they do.
Yeah, it's like like you said, like the top like 2% maybe.
Yeah.
This week, Lehigh beat Cornell.
I saw that. Now that was a full dual meet though.
That was a full dual meet, and out of 100 meets, Lehigh has won 63.
Oh wow! So Lehigh is beating them more.
Yeah, and Cornell was projected to win this year. I mean, they have Vito, who's ranked number 2, Yanni ranked number 1, a bunch of like top 15 guys in the middle. Lehigh won because they had 2 unranked wrestlers beat 2 top 15 wrestlers from Cornell.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's very impressive that they won. It's even more impressive that it was a full duel, nothing canceled for COVID. That's great. Good job. But yeah, that's like a long time rivalry, but Lehigh's always been good. People don't really realize that they've always been good, where Cornell has kind of become good over the last like 15 years. So it makes sense that have a losing record to Lehigh, but I bet Lehigh hasn't beaten them very often the last like 15 years.
They've actually just beaten them 3 in a row.
Oh, really? Wow. All right. I haven't been following, but yeah, 2 amazing programs. Super good schools too.
I grew up like 10, 15 minutes from Lehigh. So I always like grew up, and I don't know if it was just because I was living close to that, but I always thought that Lehigh was like, oh, it's like a really, really good wrestling school. You know, a lot of like anytime at our school, if there's like, you know, state champs, a lot of them went to Lehigh, and always thought that. And then when I like moved to Jersey, I was like, I feel like people don't really talk about Lehigh. I don't know if it was maybe that time frame, like from like 2007 to like, that's like when I graduated high school. So 2007 for like 10 till 2017, I was like, I feel like I don't really hear anyone talk about like Lehigh. I think maybe because I was like living in New Jersey, so everyone was kind of, you know, big on like Penn State, Rutgers there. So, but
yeah, that's good though. Any other grappling news?
We have the Emerald City Invitational Tournament coming around the corner in March.
Another one.
Another one.
Like the same one that Oliver Taza and Nick Ronan?
Yes, this one will be at 155 pounds though.
155.
155.
Okay.
Yeah, we had so far 5 of the spots have been filled. You got Keith Krikorian, Gianni Grippo, who won one of the events, Damien Anderson, John Calistine, and Josh Cisneros.
Okay, I only know of the names you said, Johnny Grippo, Calistine, and Damien. Damien used to train at Henzo's. I think Grippo started at Henzo's too. Right?
Yeah,
Then he was a Marcelo guy. And Calistine is actually, you know, basically a Sarah guy, right? Or he's there a lot.
He's also in Henzo's.
Yeah, he was at Henzo's. Well, he started at Henzo's.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he won a big EBI when we first started going there. That's how I learned about him, but he's incredible.
Yeah, he's one of the best in the world, I think.
Yeah.
He's also got a super fight the 21st with Esteban Martinez.
Is that before the tournament?
That's before the tournament.
Okay.
When's the tournament?
The tournament is March 12th.
I think it's so cool that like for jiu-jitsu they have so many like big events and tournaments. It's not just, for a while it was like when EBI came out, I felt like that was like the first thing that was like, wow, this is something cool that people can follow and like make a name for themselves besides like ADCC. But then for a while it was just that and ADCC, and like if you did AVI and it was like you had to wait for your division to come around, you had to get invited. But now like there's so many events. And
I think that pays $10,000, the Emerald City, right?
This one will be paying $10K. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It definitely is because there was never been money in jiu-jitsu until like, you know, I guess the EBI kind of started that.
And then with streaming, with streaming where people could watch it, and then if people are watching it, then they can get some sponsors. Competitors can get sponsorships too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see John Kalstein go because he's such like leg locks and submission threats. He's definitely good. It'll be interesting though.
He's the most powerful short man I know.
Yeah, I feel like those guys are a little bigger, no?
Yeah,
155. Johnny Grippo looks a little bigger.
I think JC usually competes at like 135, 145. Right. Gianni actually qualified for the 145 tournament they had a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Any other news?
Jiu-jitsu, it's hard because everyone it'll be like a weight division. I'm like, well, are they 20 pounds lighter or are they cutting 20 pounds? And it's like a mix of all of it,
right.
For jiu-jitsu, which is cool. I like that.
That's something that I love about jiu-jitsu. Like the weight does not matter as much. Like in wrestling, if you're used to wrestling 135, or I guess it would be 133 in wrestling, you can't go 157.
Yeah.
There's no way. If you're the national champ at 133, you're losing to the 20th ranked guy at 157, or maybe even lower. You just can't bump up. But in jiu-jitsu, I mean, at times a small guy will win the absolute.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think that's cool. And it makes for more matchups and more super fights, I guess you could say.
That.
Yeah.
And it's just impressive to see a little guy beat a big guy.
Yeah.
Where wrestling, I don't know why, but that can't happen. It just really can't happen.
Size is such a factor in wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah. Even in MMA it is too, right?
Yeah.
More so. But jiu-jitsu, I've gone with plenty of little guys that are fucking really good. Sometimes
when I spar guys, the thing they'll say, they're like, yeah, but if it's a girl, it's, this will work, blah, blah, blah. You're going to be you're so much bigger than the girl. You're stronger than. I'm like, I always agree with that, but I was like, I don't know. I roll jujitsu with some girls that are 20 pounds lighter than me. And I have to go 100% on them and they'll still get me in positions, which it's crazy because I can't, even if someone's really good, but if I'm 20 pounds bigger than them for MMA sparring, it doesn't really work as well.
Right.
But jiu-jitsu, I can go with the person and go as hard as I possibly can.
Yeah. Do you have to go
if they're good? Yeah. If they're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's wild. Again, people who don't understand jiu-jitsu have no grasp of that. I have a good friend, Michael, he's a good friend of ours, but we'll talk about, he's he's a wrestling background, older guy, but we'll talk about, jujitsu. I'm like, oh, I went to jujitsu. He's like, oh, how do you do with that guy? And it'll be, a smaller, I was like, dude, he's really good. He gives me a really hard time. And I'm like, what? He's so small. He's so much smaller than you.
Yeah.
Like Robert Deagle or something.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, I don't think you understand. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
These little guys, once you get to a certain level, you're fucking big guys up.
Exactly.
If they're not, technically proficient. It's interesting. Any other grappling news?
I wouldn't say news, but Julia Avila called out Misha Tate for her comment.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She wrote a really long caption.
I feel like Misha Tate's been kind of getting argumentative with like other girls. Like she definitely puts like, I think Misha Tate kind of tries to like big sister the rest of the girls, and they're like worry about yourself. I know she like when Aspen Ladd like missed weight and stuff, she always makes comments and they're like, hey, like it's not really any of your business. I don't know.
Well, I think that people probably call her out too, because for girls, that's about as big a name as you could attach yourself to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so people are like, well, you know, pick a fight with Misha Tate.
Yeah.
To get even an internet fight will get your name out there.
Of course.
She's still like such a big name, especially for the girls division.
Mm-hmm.
So you could see why that would happen. Just like everyone for years, you know, called out Conor constantly because they felt that of all the famous people, he was the one that was like they perceived to be an easier matchup.
Right.
Where now, you know, more people would probably call Misha out than, you know, like, I guess Amanda Nunes is so much, you know, she's about the same in fame.
Right. Differently.
It's a much harder matchup against Amanda.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Of course.
Do we have Am I the Asshole today?
We do.
Let's hear it.
All right, here we go.
I can't believe I haven't had to pee during this whole thing because I'm water loading, so I'm drinking two gallons yesterday, 2 gallons today. And
how hard is it to drink 2 gallons? People don't really realize that. How hard is that? Okay,
it's pretty hard. I have to make sure I drink like a lot in the morning, and
otherwise
then,
you're up all night.
Yeah, not even that. I won't finish it, but like if I drink like a lot in the morning, right when I wake up, then it's like easy the rest of the day. It does get easier as like.
So is it hard to train on 2 gallons?
No, when I just have to like. I mean, that's fine. The hardest part is like me when I drive. I'm like driving places.
Like it's hard to even drive home from the gym.
Yeah.
You have to stop and pee.
Yeah, especially if it's kind of far. But I have to purposely make sure like, oh, I have to pee now because I'm gonna drive, and then if I don't go right this second, then I'm gonna have to go.
It's such a crazy part of it that people don't understand. Like you have to, for the next like 3 days, you got to make yourself drink 2 gallons of water a day.
So
2 gallons is 16 pounds of fluid.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Like I was getting my eyelashes done today, and the girl was like, I was trying to like tell her, she's like, wait, how are you gonna lose that weight by that 20 days? And I was like, well, and I like stopped because I'm like, do I even explain this? Right. And I was like, well, I've drink water. She's like, what? I was like, yeah. I was like,
it sounds like a magic trick.
Yeah. I was like, well, it's not, I'm not really losing the weight. It's kind of like, it's water.
You are though.
No, you are. But I'm saying like what you lose the last day. It's not like to someone that doesn't know what like water cutting is. It's not like girls will be like, oh my God, I want to do that. I'm like, no, literally the second you take a sip of water, you gain it back.
What will you weigh on Saturday night?
You think I'm usually, I don't know. They weigh us. So if I weigh in 26, I'm probably like 40, between like 140, 143.
Like 15 pounds.
Yeah.
16 pounds.
Yeah. That's usually what I am. I might have clothes on when they weigh us right before we go to the arena. I usually have clothes on. I'm usually like between 140, 143 with clothes on. So I'm probably like 140.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for not wanting to adopt my dying ex-girlfriend's child?
I need more details.
So, this guy, 31 male, met his ex-girlfriend, 29 female, on a dating app 7 years ago. She has a son who's 6 months old, and she has no idea who the father is because she was with multiple guys at the time.
Okay.
It didn't seem like an issue.
You can't figure out who it is?
Process of elimination.
I guess. I mean, that's all the details we got.
Okay.
Is this Dennis Bermudez's ex?
So they went out after talking online. First date went great. After a short while, she introduces him to her son.
Okay.
A few months into the relationship, they move in together, and he starts helping take care of the son.
Okay.
So much to the point where the son starts calling him Papa.
Okay. Papa.
Papa.
Papa. I used to call my grandpa Papa.
After 5 years in the relationship,
5 years,
she told him that she wants to break up because he became quote unquote boring. They used to be very active, but because of a change in job that he had, he could not work as much.
Okay.
It was a rough time. Very awkward for him to explain to this little boy that he would not be seeing his papa again.
Okay.
He found a better job, moved away, has been traveling other countries. A few days ago, he gets a call from his ex. She's in the hospital. They suspect she has breast cancer. They removed one of her breasts, and it turns out there's another tumor in the other breast.
Wow. Terrible.
So she's freaked out. She's calling him. She's asking, if she'd be her son's legal guardian if she were to die. And at this point, he says no, which I totally understand,
All right.
And because of this, she gets very mad, just starts calling him names, starts crying on the phone, and hangs up.
Okay.
He talked to his sister and parents about this. They told him it's fucked up, that he refused it. He feels really bad. And now he's on Reddit trying to figure out if he's the asshole.
That's the place to be.
Does he have proof? I know this sounds really fucked up and I might be a bitch for this. Does he have proof that the cancer is real?
Well, she lost her breast.
I
Well,
mean,
Proof, yeah.
She called them.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there are no updates. There seems to be no proof of this.
Just because,
Right.
I don't want to be like insensitive, but I would want facts that's going on first.
Well, I look at it like this. I don't think that matters.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it like this. Like, if you would be willing to adopt or become the legal guardian if she passes away, you should be willing to do it if she's alive.
Mm-hmm.
Her passing away shouldn't be the reason you want to be in this kid's life. You should either be in this kid's life because you want to have him as a child, or you should, if you don't want it, you can't adopt a kid just because you feel bad for the mom.
If it's going to be him going like to foster care, or then I think I could see that.
Well, that would be almost different if she had already died and be like, well, you want to adopt him? You knew him best. And then it would be like, it's either this or this. She's not dead yet. So he'd have to decide, all right, I'm willing to be it if she makes it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if you're not willing to be a legal guardian, regardless of if she lives or dies, then I don't think that you should do it. I don't think that you should do it only because you feel bad because she died.
Yeah. I don't know. I could see it. I think he could be like, well, if the kid has nowhere else, if you're going to die and then the kid has nowhere to go, then I will, because I don't want him. I'd rather me watch him. But if he has his mother, then he doesn't need me. I kind of can see. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. This is deep, Zane. This isn't funny.
Yeah.
Why
can't
did
make
you pick
fun
this one?
Yeah, I can't.
Did you want an easy one?
No, but yeah, it's sad. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's an asshole for not doing it, but 5 years is a long time to be in a kid's life.
Yeah, especially when he said they started dating with 6 months. So it's like the first 5 years, and you're living there. It seemed like everything was kind of
But he's in no obligation to do it.
No, definitely not. And like, you shouldn't do it because you feel like you kind of have to. You should only do that because you really want to, obviously.
Right.
But it's such a tough situation, because then it's like, if someone has like cancer, you feel bad and do it because of that. But I mean, yeah, it's
such
just
a big ask, though.
It's really, I mean, and you could say like 5 years is a long time, but it's also not. Like 5 years isn't like, it's a lot for the kid, but I don't know. That's just so tough. I don't think no matter what he decides, I don't think he's an asshole either way. If he doesn't want to.
Simple question, he's not.
It's not. I mean, at the end of the day, it sounds like ruthless, but it isn't his kid. And, she doesn't why would he be the asshole for not doing that when she doesn't even know who the dad is and didn't even take the time to try to figure it out?
Yeah. I think that's maybe what you should do, and try to figure out who the dad is.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to have been with a lot of guys to not have any idea.
Yeah.
Because even if it was like 10 guys, you could get 10 guys tested, right?
Yeah.
Like 100 guys? I don't know. But even if it was 100, maybe there would be like a type of thing where there's so many that like you forget.
I mean, because you got to like be able to like time it. Like, okay, wow, I'm like 1 month pregnant. How many people did I sleep with last month?
Right. Yeah, more than like 100 would be a lot.
Yeah. I mean.
Or more than like 20, right?
Okay, so say you're 1 month, you find out you're like 1 month pregnant. You're like last month, that's like, even if it was 30, that's like one guy each day.
That's what I mean.
But you could kind of be like, okay, well, in the last 4 weeks, I know what I was doing this week. You could probably limit.
You could get those 30 guys though and just spit in this cup.
Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to figure out your kid's dad, you probably do that.
Yeah, of course.
If you have time to like have sex with all of them, you probably have time to ask them if they're your kid's father.
Yeah.
But
I have more info.
Oh,
what
gosh.
do we got?
So a month after they broke up, he did message her asking if he could still be in the kid's life. She left him on red and blocked him.
Damn.
Well, I do think.
But he was probably just trying to get her back and using him as like a pawn.
Maybe he liked.
He wanted to stay attached.
It's Papa.
But that's a big.
Okay, she's about to die. She gets cancer. She thinks like, okay, wow, I'm experiencing death. It may change you a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
What else you got? Any other updates?
He's working out a way to see her in person and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this
Well,
is a
you obviously
conversation.
have to do that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. He has no idea if the ex-girlfriend's mom is alive or not. So that's probably why she's asking.
I feel like for them to be together this long, they don't know each other.
She's
that
a
well.
mess. And you can say that, like, just because like she has, it's very terrible and awful that she's like going through this. But besides that, before this, seems like she was a little bit of loosey goosey mess.
Sure.
I don't know. It seems weird. I don't know if this could be real. You know what I mean?
I want to know. I would be before meeting her in person. I would it's kind of an awkward thing to say or to ask for, but I would want proof that cancer is going on.
Yeah.
I would want from that situation. If I were him, I'd need a little bit of proof before I fly back to meet her.
So imagine like he signs off. Yes, I'll do it. But then she doesn't die. Then she's like, no,
now she's like,
you can't see him. I said only if I die.
Yeah. Or, well, now you have to pay child support.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're his legal guardian.
Yeah.
They can't, that's what I mean. It can't be based on if she dies. It has to be all in, one or the other.
He's not an asshole if he doesn't want to. But he should think about it really hard.
Yeah. A lot of thinking.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's all we got. Yeah.
So just try to stay healthy the rest of the fight week. Go get a W.
Yes. We'll
Let's
come back.
fucking go.
Next episode will be a victory episode.
Celebrating
Yeah.
another top 5 opponent.
Yes.
Knockoff.
Mm-hmm.
What's she? 4th? 3rd?
I don't know. I think I'm 2. She's 3,
Yeah.
or maybe she's 4. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think she's 4.
Mm-hmm. Lauren Murphy.
Lauren Murphy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't wait to see like how it unfolds afterwards. Just what happens.
Yeah.
You're in an odd position. But thanks for listening. Please follow us on Instagram and subscribe to the YouTube.
Thank you guys. Bye.